Iowa. This was my first indoctrination into the world of politics. You know that. And I spent a lot of time out here, and you know, I buy a lot of equipment from John Deere, so you have to like me for that. And I appreciate everybody being here. It's been an amazing period of time. We're getting our points across. And, you know, sometimes it's not easy. We have a very hostile media, and I'm like hostile like nobody can believe. We know it. Do we know it? And we're going to, I think I'll write a book. I think I'm going to write a book. Do what I know about people. But I have to tell you, we're going to be talking about the queen of corruption. All right? And we're going to be talking about law and order, because we need law and order. We have a problem in this country caused for lots of different reasons. And by the way, great respect for our police. We just got another endorsement this morning. I can tell you this, that if Hillary Clinton becomes president, you will have terrorism, you will have problems, you will have really, in my opinion, the destruction of this country from within. Just remember that. Just remember I said it. The destruction of our country from within. So I wrote up some little points today, and it concerns her, it concerns President Obama, who is doing a terrible job. You look at what's going on. You look at what's going on in our country, and you see what's happening. But I thought I'd discuss this because we know Hillary, I know Hillary, and it's interesting. I did it this morning. Unstable, Hillary Clinton lacks the judgment, temperament, and moral character to lead this country. And I believe that so strongly. She is a dangerous liar, and you saw that with the FBI director, where he came out and said she lied. All the other things she's done. And then on Sunday she said, he never said that. Who has disregarded Thank you. Who has disregarded the lives of Americans, and who has put all of us at very great risk, while supporting economic policies that have destroyed our economy. And believe me, our economy is in bad shape, and we're going to go into that. She's really pretty close to unhinged, and you've seen it a couple of times, but people in the background know it. The people that know her know it. And she's like an unbalanced person. In the words of a Secret Service agent, and you know, the Secret Service agent wrote a book. I hope they never write a book about me like that. But the press hasn't covered the book very well. In fact, they've almost not covered it at all. But they do cover me, so I'll say basically what he's saying in a nutshell, but it gets a lot worse than this. This is a quote, she simply lacks the integrity and temperament to serve in the office. From the bottom of my soul, and I hear he's a very good person, I know this to be true. Her leadership style, volcanic, impulsive, disdainful of the rules, we found that out, hasn't changed a bit. And he thinks she'd be a disaster as president. Now, Secret Service, these are amazing people that I've gotten to know because they're out here all over the place, and I will tell you, they are amazing people. They are great people. Hillary supports and helped create Obama's disastrous Iran policy. This has to be one of the great catastrophes, the Iran policy. And it never stops. It never stops. Keeps going and going, including putting Iran on the path to nuclear weapons, which is true, and giving them $150 billion. Hillary's central role in making Iran the dominant Islamic power that they are today in the Middle East proves that she is totally unfit to lead. Now, I was the first one, I believe, to use the word unfit in referring to her. Now they pick it up and they use it on me. I always thought that I was extremely fit. In fact, all of my life I've been told, you have the greatest temperament because you go through pressure. You have to be able to handle pressure. She cannot handle pressure. I handle pressure. All my life I've handled pressure. And I've been told by so many people that know me under pressure, Donald, that's when you do the best. And this is just a soundbite that, made by one of hers. She's got a lot of money raised, and we've got a lot of money raised. We've got a lot of money, and I'm putting in a lot of money. I'm funding my part of the campaign. I funded the entire primary process, and I'm spending a lot of money, folks. I'll tell you what, if we don't pull this off, I'm blaming Iowa. If we don't pull this off, I'm going to say I wasted a lot of money, time, and energy. That I can tell you. But I've spent, I guess, over $60 million cash. Over $60 million. I'll spend a lot more than that. I'll be spending a lot more than that over the next 3 months. Think of it. It's like 3.5 months. And other people are putting in money for the Republican Party. And as you know, the Republican National Committee, Reince Priebus is doing a fantastic job. He really is. He's a fantastic guy. Fantastic. And as you know, last month we just started. And the month before that, they were saying, Trump didn't raise any money. Well, I didn't really start because I was fighting people to make sure that we got it. I don't like to raise money when I'm still fighting people to make sure we have it. But they said, Trump, you remember the headlines from 2 months ago? Trump, we had like $1 million in the bank, and she had a lot, right? You know what? All special interest money, all money from lobbyists, all money from donors that expect a lot, like open borders and lots of things that you don't want and I don't want. It's one of the reasons I'm doing this. She wants amnesty. She wants open borders. And if you have that, you're not going to have any country left, folks. That I can tell you. That I can tell you. That I can tell you. No, you're going to build the wall. We're going to build the wall. Not so long ago, you're going to look, and we have all of the data, and people are going to be surprised. Hillary Clinton wanted a wall built. One of the reasons it never got built is, unlike China, where they build in the South China Sea a massive military complex. They're building an island you wouldn't believe what's going on out there. Not supposed to do that, by the way. But they have no respect for President Obama. No respect whatsoever. They have no respect for President Obama or Clinton or Kerry, but they have no respect for our country. They're building a massive airfields, military base, and people are amazed at what's gone on, and they don't get environmental impact studies when they build. They just build. So one of the reasons the wall didn't get built, I think probably the biggest reason, they couldn't get their environmental impact study approved. Can you believe this? There were probably rattlesnakes in the way or something, an endangered species. So we're going to get the wall built. We're going to have strong borders. Believe me, we're going to have strong borders. We're going to have strong borders. And speaking of that, before we get back to the $400 million that our country paid in cash with different currencies, $400 million, same day as the hostage release. And now they say Now they said had nothing to do with it, just coincidence. Just like he said 24 times, you can keep your doctor for Obamacare. Keep your plan, keep your doctor over and over and over again. And frankly, Obamacare is such a disaster, and we're going to, by the way, it'll be terminated and replaced with something. But Hillary Clinton has just come out with a plan for virtually total amnesty. And I thought what I'd do is read you some excerpts from people that don't have to do this. It's easier if they don't do it. These are amazing people. They endorsed me. 16,500 people endorsed me, the Border Patrol people. And National Border Patrol Council, the Border Patrol Council, agent members, they just released this, and I thought it was so good I have to read it a little bit to you. It's 4 pages. I don't want to drive you totally crazy. But I have to read some of it because it can't be put. These are the people that understand what's going on as to the border and the people coming in better than anybody. You can't hire consultants like this. You'd pay millions of dollars to consultants, and you can take any one of these people, 16,500, and they know more than the consultants, and they'll give it to you free. And they gave me a tremendous amount. And by the way, they said the wall is absolutely necessary to do the job. And by the way, Mexico will pay for the wall. They will pay for the wall. That I can tell you. They know it. They know it. If I'm president, if somebody else is president, they would laugh at the thought of it. They know they're going to pay. You know that. They've already said, oh, they're not happy about what's going on with Trump. All right, Clinton and Obama, this is from the agents, great people. Clinton and Obama both agree that they must appease the radical extremists in their party's furthest fringe. Now, that was brought about by Bernie Sanders to a large extent, but they're so far left now, it's unbelievable. Unfortunately, the citizens who were victimized by criminal aliens paid the cost of that appeasement, as well as cities that were flooded with meth and heroin, and the crimes associated with the illegal drug trade. And drug trade is going rampant in New Hampshire, in New England, here, it's rampant, coming in mostly from our southern border. President Obama and Secretary Clinton failed to recognize we live in a world where religious and political fanatics are actively plotting to harm United States citizens at home and abroad. Instead of investing in measures to secure our nation's borders, they have openly and actively pursued what Secretary of State John Kerry called, he was the mastermind behind the Iran deal, never got up, never walked. I don't know if he ever negotiated anything in his life. What Secretary of State John Kerry called a borderless world. Americans need to ask themselves, do we want to risk the safety and security of our family, businesses, and communities on their dangerous and extreme policies? The answer is no, not me. I don't want to. It's one of the reasons I'm running. Do you remember when I ran, when I announced? I talked about illegal immigration. I talked about people pouring into our country. It's going to be worse than ever before. And by the way, people coming in from other parts of the world, we have no idea who they are, where they come from. They're totally undocumented. They're showing documents that are false, I would be willing to bet. Law enforcement officials told me that under no circumstances there's no way you can tell where they come from. And it's very, very sad. And Hillary Clinton wants 550% more people to come into our country from that part of the world. Not going to happen. And by the way, we'll build safe zones in Syria. We'll build safe zones. We'll build all sorts of things. We won't pay for it. We'll get the Gulf states to pay. OPM, other people's money. It's about time. We have, right now, we have $20 trillion in debt. Now, we want to help people, but we're going to use other people's money. The Gulf states have so much money, nothing but money. We're going to use their money. We'll head it. We'll do whatever you want to do, but we're not paying. Because it's time for us to stop. We have to rebuild our infrastructure. We have to rebuild our country. We have to knock the hell out of ISIS, by the way. We have to knock the hell out of them. Our military is... Thank you. Our military has become totally depleted. We have jet fighters where we get parts from plane graveyards. You've seen it. It's all over television. We get parts for our current fighters. Right now, we're getting parts at museums. We're taking them off old airplanes. Yesterday, I believe it was yesterday, 2 planes crashed. What are we doing, folks? What are we doing? Where have we come and where have we gone? Look what's happened to our country when you see this happening. Secretary Clinton calls for amnesty in her first 100 days and expanding these dangerous Obama policies. Well, she wants to get more voters, is truth, and he wants to get more voters, and I would say that's true. Actually, good point. I'm glad you made it, if you want to. Policies really demonstrates her deeply alarming willingness to sell out the security of the American family to advance her political and financial interests. That's what it is. You have her donors, her backers, her special interests that want to see this happen. Not for our country, they don't care about our country, but for other reasons and themselves. Her immigration plan is not only dangerous for all American families, but previews an administration that will once again defy the will of the people. The people don't want this to happen. The voters don't want this to happen. That's why in Iowa, folks, you have to understand, we got to be done. And it's not going to be treated fairly by the press. It's not going to be treated fairly by the press. We're bucking the press. You know, an interesting thing happened. I was in Florida. We had these massive crowds, and you saw that in Jacksonville, in Daytona, massive crowds. Thousands of people had to be turned away, but massive crowds. And one of the events, a beautiful baby was crying. And I mean crying like you wouldn't believe. This baby could have been Pavarotti. In fact, I'm going to find out who that baby is. I'm going to make a deal with the parents because we can take that baby to training school and it'll be the next great Pavarotti. This was a beautiful baby and beautiful mother. And the baby was crying. And I jokingly said, you know what, that's okay. Let the baby cry. We love babies. You know, something to that effect. Love babies. Then about 2 minutes later, it didn't stop. It just went on. And I'm trying to speak in front of thousands. We had thousands of people in the room. And I said, all right. I actually said the first time, all right, keep the baby here. Don't worry about it. Then after about 2 minutes, I said, you know what? I'm going to counteract my order. Beautiful baby. If you take her outside, that's not so bad. That was it. The whole place laughed. We had a good time. The press came out with headlines, Trump throws baby out of arena. So dishonest. I mean, these are dishonest people. I could give you 20 stories like that. But think of it. Everyone's having fun. We're smiling. I'm waving. Everyone's having fun. But they say Trump throws baby. You know how terrible that is? It's such a lie. And they know it's a lie. And spread the word, folks. But they know it's a lie. And then today, while I'm here, a reporter, an Iowa reporter, nice reporter, just comes up to me, puts a camera in my face. One of the questions, Mr. Trump, how do you feel about throwing that baby out of the arena in Florida? So, and I actually took 3 minutes and explained what happened. Run the tape. But you know, it's funny, when I said, that's okay, but you can go. And then everyone's laughing. I'm laughing. But they cut me off immediately. In fact, they cut me off a little short of even that final word. So nobody really knows. It's so disgusting what's going on with the media. So disgusting. And we just can't let... That's why we have to win. We have to win. We have to win. I've heard so much about that beautiful baby, beautiful parents. So much. I don't throw babies out, believe me. I love babies. I love my children. I love babies. I don't throw babies out, believe me. Secretary Clinton calls immigration a family problem. However, the families she ignored are the American family. Her plan does nothing to protect those who are victimized savagely, in some cases, every day by our blind pursuit of open borders. We don't want open borders. And we want people to come into our country, but we want them to come in legally. Every American family, and these are the agents, these are the people that really know, every American family should be alarmed that her plan leaves their children vulnerable to drug cartels that control the Mexican border. True. You read about it, you see it every night. Last year, 150,000 people were killed by these ruthless criminal organizations. Anyone who opposed them quickly discovered that these cartel leaders were morally bankrupt. Hundreds of journalists, activists, politicians, and law enforcement officers simply disappeared or fled the United States. Came into the United States. They fled. They just fled. They'll go anywhere. And this is what we're opening this up to, folks. It's going to get worse and worse. Remember this. The Border Patrol agents, these are great people. Their job's a lot easier if they just stand back and let people walk in front. They don't have to endorse me. I'm strong borders. I'm for letting people in, totally. But we have to know who they are. And we want strong enforcement. But we want strong borders. Clinton's very candidacy and the amnesty she promises is luring families into the United States and wrecking innocent lives. We know that. You see it. You have it here. You have it here. I was just with some folks and they said, we have a tremendous problem in Iowa. You don't think of it that way, but you have it here. We would face an unprecedented crisis, and you're right, they take away people's jobs. They're taking away Americans' jobs. We have American people that can't get jobs. We have a big problem. The real unemployment rate is probably close to 20%. People look for jobs, they can't find them. They go back home, they work, and they can't find them, and they give up, and they're statistically taken off. And then you have these phony numbers given. We would face an unprecedented crisis if she was elected and allowed to implement this open border plan. Cartels and Islamic extremists would quickly manipulate this chaos, and let me tell you, radical Islamic extremism, radical Islamic extremism, it's going to come right through there, and it already is. Many people have said it, they've seen it, and it's coming in because it's the easiest place to get in. Very simple. Clinton has pledged to close detention centers, release immigrant family members, and offer American citizenship to these people. They're going to get Obamacare, but they won't because it's going to be terminated. Okay, so don't worry. I think it's going to actually fall of its own weight. Did you see the numbers, the increases in the numbers? So it's not going to work anyway. Honestly, I always say repeal and replace Obamacare. No matter who, it can't work. It can't. It was all a big lie. Remember the professor that came up with it and he conned everybody? A couple of years ago when he came out, he was bragging to some of his friends. Unfortunately, one of his friends had a cell phone going, a camera, and they saw it was a whole hoax, right? But it's going to fall anyway because you look at the numbers, almost 60% in Texas. It just came out. Almost 60% increase in Texas. And I'm just looking at other states. The numbers are incredible. The big numbers are coming out on November 1st, 8 days before the election. November 1st. And they're trying to delay those numbers 1 month because they are election-changing numbers, and they're disgraceful. They're disgraceful. She mysteriously chose to ignore the lessons from recent terrorist attacks in San Bernardino, Paris, Belgium, Nice, Orlando, London. How about London? How about these places? Look what's happening to our world. A friend of mine loves France, goes to France a lot, and always loved it. And I hadn't seen him in a while. I said, how did you like France? He said, I didn't go. France is no longer France. I don't go to France anymore. You look at Nice, look at that. But this is a guy who loves Paris, doesn't love it anymore. And he said, France is no longer France. Well, the United States will be the United States again, believe me. The United States will be the United States. We believe, these again, border agents, we believe that once the American public reads Clinton's immigration plan, they will agree it is weak, dangerous, panders to the extremists, and will result in their families and communities becoming vastly, vastly less safe and much more at risk. Simply put, the plan is a catastrophe and will threaten countless Americans, and in my opinion will threaten our country. I just want to, and that's the National Border Patrol Council, 16,500 members. So we've got to be very careful, folks. And she's going to want them to come in, and they're going to come up here, and they're going to come all over the place. So we have no idea who they are, and where they're going. You know, they're placed in communities that even governors, and you have a great governor here, by the way, I have to tell you. You have a great, I have to tell you, become a friend of mine. He is a great, great governor. And by the way, did I make a great choice in Governor Pence? I made a great choice. Mike Pence, one of my great decisions. That was a good decision. I will take my guy over their guy all day long. You know, Tim Kaine, when he was governor of Virginia, the first thing he did, or one of the first things he did, I think it was in the first week, very early on, he raised taxes in the state of Virginia, governor of Virginia, raised taxes in the state of Virginia, $4 billion. Not too good. Unemployment almost doubled, might have more than doubled, but unemployment went through the roof. And it was a disastrous 4 years. And when she picked him, I said, oh, that's too bad, because we're doing well in Virginia. I have a lot of property in Virginia, and the people are great people. Virginia's a great place. And I said, that's too bad. She picked somebody who must be very popular. He's not popular in Virginia. He raised taxes, and he had huge unemployment. Now, Mike in Indiana, AAA bond rating, taxes reduced, vets were taken care of just about better than any state. Jobs were given to vets. Number 2 in the country is going to make it number 1 probably before this all happens. He's going to be sort of maybe going the back channels to get to be the vets be number 1, because he is working so hard doing what we're doing now. But as governor, he took care of the vets. I think it was in 32nd or 34th place in terms of the vets looking for jobs. And right now it's number 2. And he's got the mechanisms in place for it to be number 1. No, he's great. So we've just learned about $400 million ransom payment. Now, Obama said, yes, it has nothing to do with it. It's another lie. It's just like the Obamacare lie. It's just like so many other lies. It's another lie. Same day, just a coincidence, right? Cash. And I guess one of the hostages said yesterday or the day before that they had to wait at the airport for an inordinate time, hours and hours and hours, because they were waiting for either a plane or something to come in. In other words, I mean, we can't have great assurity, but I would think that the other side, meaning Iran, which is horrible the way they treat us, we gave them the greatest deal of their lives, other than the fact that we gave them Iraq also, because essentially they're going to be taking over Iraq very quickly. Among the largest oil reserves in the world, remember that. What we have given them, we've taken a nation that was really in trouble, and they've become a real power, and in the Middle East, a very dominant power, except for Israel. Remember Israel, folks. Remember Israel. Because Israel is tough and smart and strong, and Israel has been sold out by Obama. Sold out. You know, when I have friends of mine that are Jewish that raise money for Obama, I say, what are you doing? Has anybody been worse to Israel than President Obama? Just ask Bibi Netanyahu. Just ask him. Has anybody been worse? If you think the Iran deal itself and by itself makes him the worst that's ever been in terms of Israel. And I think it's a very sad situation. So the $400 million comes in the same day as the hostages go out, or very close. And the hostages, do you all remember when they waited and waited and nobody could understand why were they waiting? So you ought to read the press on that today. Probably won't get the real story or the true story, but they were waiting for me. They wouldn't be getting 400, I'll tell you right now. They wouldn't be getting 10 cents. They wouldn't be getting 10 cents. And that deal, which was started by crooked Hillary Clinton, that deal would never have been approved. Number one, the hostages would have been out of there before we started negotiation, or we don't have a deal. And number two, I would have never given them back the $150 billion. Never. I would have never done it. I would have said, first I would have gotten the hostages in. Then I would have worked on the 150. Then I get the 150. You know what that does in terms of power? And then you look at Yemen, where they have a long border along Saudi Arabia. That's what they want. They don't want Yemen. They want the border because they want the oil. They want Saudi Arabia. And for which we are taking care of the military, and they're not paying us properly. But, you know, these are all the mines, okay? You know, we pay rent on bases. We pay rent to defend them, okay? And when I bring this up, they say, oh, Trump doesn't know about military. I know. People are amazed at how much I know about the military. And people are very impressed. The fair people are very impressed. I've had people, now think of it. Saudi Arabia was making $1 billion a day when the prices of oil were high. Now they're making a fortune still. And we protect them for far less than it costs us, okay? And we do. We pay rent on military bases, and we're there to protect them, okay? So when I was asked a question recently on NATO, now, in all fairness, I've been a very successful guy, very successful businessman, have good instincts for things like that. They asked me about NATO. I'm not an expert on NATO, but I said two things. It's obsolete, right? I said, NATO is obsolete. And the announcer said, Wolf Blitzer, good guy, actually. But he said, well, wait a minute, NATO's obsolete. What do you mean? It's obsolete, doesn't take care of terrorism. Frankly, has the wrong countries if you're really talking about terrorism, as we have gotten to know it over the last period of time. So it's obsolete, and I said, because of the terrorism. And I said, very importantly, that the countries within NATO are not, many of them, are not paying their way. So we're protecting them, and they're not paying. Next day in many of the newspapers, Donald Trump hates NATO. I don't hate NATO. I want these countries to pay. These countries, many of them, are very substantial. I want them to pay. We're paying right now 72% of the cost of NATO to protect them. Now, we have advantages too, but basically we're protecting them. So we end up in World War III protecting them, and you know what? They haven't lived up to the bargain. They have not lived up to their bargain. So the story was Donald Trump doesn't like NATO. I do like NATO. I think NATO's great. And in fact, on the front page of the Wall Street Journal about 4 or 5 months ago, headline, after I said this, headline, NATO to form terrorism unit. Isn't that nice? I'm going to put one of their good generals or somebody in. And that was all me. Now, they didn't give me credit. They gave me a little thing. Donald Trump wasn't happy, something like that. But they got to pay. And then these guys say, you know, the eggheads, they say, but we have a treaty. I said, that's right, they have a treaty too. They have to pay. They have to pay. Now, again, with almost 20 trillion in debt, with being one of the highest taxed nations in the world, with people like Obama, who I personally think is incompetent, with people like Obama, and you know, the commander in charge of NATO the other day, did you see it? He came out and he said, Trump is right. I'm going to like this guy. He came out and he said, Mr. Trump is right. The other nations aren't paying, and they should be paying, many of them, and they should be paying. And he goes in and he explained it. I go in and I explain, listen, I have budgets and you have budgets, and in our country we have to pay. And it's not easy to pay. You people have to pay. I mean, there was a whole big article about it. I'm right. They're going to start paying. Nobody asked them for the money. Now they're asking them for the money. Because of me, they're asking them for the money. So, you know what difference? You know what difference that makes? Now, we protect Japan, South Korea, Germany, Saudi Arabia, and others. They don't pay. Now, they pay, but they don't pay anywhere near what it costs. And actually, one of the generals got up not so long ago and said, doesn't Mr. Trump know that Japan, I love Japan, we're going to have a great relationship with Japan. Doesn't Mr. Trump know that Japan pays 50% of the cost of the defense? And the newspaper person called me up, who I respect actually, said, Mr. Trump, they do pay 50%. I said, why don't they pay 100%? You know what you're talking about in money? You know, you talk about budgets, and you know the kind of money that we're spending? And for years I've seen our military budget is many, many times more than China, more than everybody else. And I used to say, that's good. But I was surprised. You know, why would it be? Well, it is because we protect all these countries. And that's okay. I think that's great. But they have to pay. They have to pay. Because this isn't 40 years ago. They have to pay. So with the 40, it's right, is it true? It's not, 40, 50 years ago. Now, that was originally for the Soviet Union. Now it's Russia, but that's okay. Russia's plenty tough, but you got to go with the punches, folks. We got to do what we have to do. We have to make it good. And you always have to be prepared to walk. Hillary Clinton came out and said, that's terrible. He's not going to stick with our allies. We're going to stick. But once the ally hears her dumb talk, because it's dumb, why would they ever pay? Why would they ever pay? When they hear that she will stick. Okay, here's a little negotiation, right? So you go in and you want to negotiate with, let's say, Japan, okay? And, there's a lot of problems over there because you have North Korea, and he's always threatening the area. He's always threatening Japan and South Korea. We have 28,000 soldiers on the border. But let's say somebody like Hillary Clinton makes this statement, we will never abandon our allies. Okay, I think those statements are beautiful. I think they're great. One problem. When you go in and say, we will never, ever abandon you, but you have to pay us more money. They're going to say, we're not going to pay you more money if you're not going to abandon us. You always have to be prepared to walk. I don't think it would walk. I don't think it's going to be necessary. It could be, though. Could be that Japan will have to defend itself against North Korea. We have a treaty with Japan where if Japan is attacked, we have to use the full force and might of the United States. If we're attacked, Japan doesn't have to do anything. They can sit home and watch Sony television. Okay? No. What kind of deals are these? Folks, I'm being serious. What kind of deals are these? These deals are by people, it's got to be a two-way street. These deals are by people that don't know what they're talking about. They don't know what they're doing. I have some of the greatest business leaders in the world that endorse me. We're going to use great business leaders to work with our generals. We're going to make great trade deals where we're getting absolutely killed with China and other countries. And you people know it better than anybody because you know, even though you have a great governor, you know how hard it is to get your product to other countries, and in particular, to get it into China, because they don't want it. They don't want it. It's a one-way street. So Obama spent 7 minutes dodging this question yesterday, or the $400 billion. Okay? Spent all of this time, $400 million. Iran is the leading state sponsor of terrorism in the world, right? In the world. And you know, when we talk about $400 million in cash, does anybody have any idea what that is? I actually say, who approves it? How does it get done? How do they get the money? How do they do this? $400 million in cash. Okay. So, no, it's unbelievable. Do you agree? It's unbelievable. And who has the right to do this? The cash to Iran, $400 million, is money that will be spent to attack our friends and allies. Terror. Now, I think a lot of it's going into their pockets, you want to be honest with you, okay? I think, a lot will be used for terror. A lot's going to go into their pockets. That's why they wanted different denominations. They wanted all different currencies. They wanted it all different ways. I think a lot of it's going to go into their pockets, all right? They're sitting there, they're seeing all this money go in this. All right, let's send some over here. By the way, pshing. So you look at that and you say, this is the way our country is run. And these people are enemies. Look, Iran is not our friend. Remember how they humiliated us with the sailors, the 10 sailors, on something that should have been, hey, listen, you're in the wrong little area, come, boo. And the only reason we got them back was we started paying the money a day or two later, or we would not have had them back unless I was president. You get it back very fast, believe me. Believe me. And they humiliated our country, and they humiliated the sailors. Now, Hillary supports and helped create Obama's disastrous Iran deal. She's the one that got it started. Kerry finished it, including putting Iran on the path to nuclear weapons and giving them the $150 billion. Hillary's central role in making Iran the dominant Islamic power in the Middle East, it's just, you can't do it. Because we have to now run our country so smart. We have problems that are so massive that we just can't allow it to happen. And we have to run our country smart. Now, foreign policy in 2009, pre-Hillary, Libya was stable, meaning like stable, depending on your definition of stable, but sort of under control. Somebody was controlling it, you know who. Syria was under control. Iraq was seeing a reduction in violence. Iran was being choked. They were being choked by sanctions. And by the way, the power we had over Iran was unbelievable, because all we had to do is leave the meeting, say, we're going to double up, triple up on the sanctions. They would have given you anything you wanted. They would have given those hostages back before you started. They would have agreed the 150, look, we need money desperately. These were stupid people that did our negotiating. These are stupid, stupid people. ISIS wasn't even on the map. ISIS wasn't even on the map. After Hillary Clinton, the world went up in flames. Libya is in total chaos. That was her baby, 100%. Syria is in ruins, right? Ruins. Iraq is a disaster. Iran is on the path to nuclear. Egypt is, you know what happened with Egypt. ISIS is all over the place. ISIS is spreading. Now, did you hear where they said, oh, we have ISIS under control? And then those documents or maps were just released, and they say ISIS is now Worse than ever. Remember, he said JV, junior varsity, right? Well, this is the legacy of Hillary Clinton. It's called death, destruction, chaos, and weakness. She's weak. She is a weak person. I'll tell you what, I know her. She's weak. She's weak. And why hasn't she done press conferences? It's been 250 some odd days, I guess. Why doesn't she do press conferences, right? We won't even talk about Benghazi. We're not going to talk about Benghazi. Now, the emails. Hillary Clinton stored her emails on an illegal private server to cover up her corrupt financial dealings and other shady activities and probably illegal activities. I think not probably. In doing so, she enabled foreign espionage so that all of our enemies could very easily and quickly read her emails. I think, who knows, I think. She put up the security and she took care of the security, but not for us, for other people. But our security, the security of every single American, was put into danger by her deletion, or whatever you want to call it, of, listen to this, 33,000 emails. And didn't she say those emails had to do with the wedding? Chelsea's wedding. And yoga, right? Yoga. 33,000 emails. She lied about it. She lied about it. Pathological. She lied about it over and over and over again. And I said the other day, I think when the book is written, there's been plenty of them written, you don't want to read them, but when the book is written on Hillary, I think the single greatest achievement of her career will be getting out of trouble. Maybe it's not over yet. We'll be getting out of trouble with all of these horrible lies and emails and all of the things she did when other people, General Petraeus, many other people, their lives have been totally destroyed for doing nothing by comparison. Think of it, 33,000 emails. Gone. Gone. How do you do that? The FBI wants them. They're gone. And that's okay. And other people, I think NSA probably has them. Is that right? He just said NSA has them. Does NSA have them? I don't know. I mean, you know, some people have been saying that NSA has them. She lied about passing on classified information, right? And everything was just insecure. Insecure. She lied about having only one device. She lied about turning over all of her work-related emails. She lied over and over again about actions she took which put American lives in tremendous danger. Now, our economy, that goes without saying. We're being ripped off by everybody on trade. That's why we'll build the wall. Mexico's going to pay for the wall. You know why? Because they're making a fortune with us. I'm not even talking about the drugs that are pouring over. The drugs come over. They poison our children and others, and then they go back. They come over with drugs. You got to see this. They either don't have a wall or they have walls like this that your child can get over. And sometimes instead of ripping down the wall, which would be, I think, easier, they build a little ramp. You ever see the picture of the trucks going over the ramp? They go over back. They go over with drugs, poison our youth. They go back with cash. Not a good deal for us, right? Not a good deal for us. And honestly, if Mexico respected us, and I have thousands of Mexicans that work for me and have worked for me over the years, thousands, they're great people. Their leaders are too smart for our leaders. If Mexico wanted, if they respected our president, one phone call, believe me, that would all stop. And that's before the wall. And that call is going to be made very early on if I win. Very early on. Very, very early. So you look at what's going on trade, you look at China. You can't deal with China. manufacturers that I know, they can't get their product into China. If they do, they have to pay a massive tax. Whereas China sends their product into us like nothing, and they continually devalue their currency. And by devaluing their currency, it makes it impossible for companies from Iowa and from every other place. You look at what's going on in Michigan. Look at what's going on in upstate New York and Pennsylvania and Ohio. They make it impossible for other companies to compete. They make it impossible. You can't get your product in, and if you get it in, and by the way, if you really get it in, they want you to build everything over there. They don't want it from our country. They take advantage of us like Boeing, like GM. They take advantage of us like nobody has ever. They're abusers. They're abusing our country. Now, they're friends of mine. Do you believe this? I have one of the biggest banks, the biggest bank in the world as a tenant in one of my buildings in New York. I sell condos to the Chinese all the time. I do a lot of business. I have a big stake in the in the Bank of America building in San Francisco. Big stake. That came through by way of China indirectly. 1290 Avenue of the Americas, one of the biggest office buildings in New York, among the biggest floor plates in New York, big floor plates as big as this room or bigger, and all through China. We can do great with China. China can't believe they're getting away with what they're getting away with. Now, we have a trade deficit with China of $505 billion, trade deficit. How stupid are we? We have a trade deficit with everybody of almost $800 billion. Now, that's what's reported. That means it's more than that. We can straighten this country up much faster than people understand, because when they do what they have to do, okay, and the reason they have to do it is because if they don't, we have very strong economic powers, because we're the piggy bank that they come in and they suck our jobs away, they suck our money out of. We have tremendous economic power. And China will do the right thing. And other countries will do the right thing. Japan, look at that imbalance. Look at that imbalance. We send them beef, right? We send them from Iowa beef. They send us hundreds of thousands of cars. Hundreds of thousands. The trade imbalance is massive. They'll do the right thing, but somebody has to tell them to do the right thing. It's just like NATO. Those countries will pay, or you'll make a deal of some kind. You'll make a deal, but somebody has to be smart and tell them what we have to do, okay? So here's the story, folks. Here's the story. So I'll start, and I've said it, and I love it. I've developed so many great friends in Iowa. I've had anyway, but so many great friends because I spent so much time in Iowa. And I learned a lot about the world of politics from Iowa. I don't love the caucus system, by the way. I could do without the caucus. I like a vote. I like when you walk in and vote and leave. Not when somebody takes your people and they wine them and dine them. Let's go have dinner. Let's take a flight. Would you like to see Iowa from a helicopter, right? No, I like this, but the caucus system. Now, you know that Iowa, they're talking about putting you at the back of the pack. You know that, right? Right? Not going to happen if I win, believe me. You're going to stay right where you are. Because there's a great history to it. There's a great beauty. There's a great beauty to it. There's a great beauty to it. And I'm not going to go over the difficulties that you're having, because I have 3 pages of them, of companies that are leaving and everything else. But I'm not going to do that. And that's not local government, that's federal government that's allowing to happen. But I will say this. Iowa is an amazing place. You're going to keep your place in history. You're going to be that first state. And you know what? If it wasn't, I know so many people, good people, politicians, that came and they thought they were going to be president. And they came and they had to go through Iowa and New Hampshire. Those two. Iowa, New Hampshire. And they went to Iowa, and that was the end of their presidency. And then it was doubled up because they went to New Hampshire. New Hampshire's staying there, too. But they went into New Hampshire, and that was their real end of their presidency. That was the end. Between the loss of both of them, I mean, practically it's over. So you have great history. You have very important history. So let me just tell you. I hope you can get out on November 8th and vote for Trump. Thank you. And if you don't like me, that's okay. Vote for Pence, because it's the same thing. Great guy. So I hope you're going to vote for Trump. Remember, and you've heard it, Supreme Court justices, okay? You're going to get, we're going to be Venezuela, large version. Supreme Court justices. Judge Scalia is gone. That wasn't supposed to happen. So you have one before you start. Now, you're going to have, could be 3, 4, could even be 5. There's a scenario, where it could be 5. It will be probably the most judges ever picked by a president in a 4-year term. So I only say this, folks. Judges, protecting your Second Amendment, so important. So important. Protect your Second Amendment. So we have justices of the Supreme Court. We have protecting your Second Amendment, because they literally, they are going to do numbers on your Second Amendment where it's not going to be the same thing. It's going to be a whole different deal. You want protection, you want your rights, and you're absolutely right. You know, it's interesting, in San Bernardino or in Paris, which is one of the toughest gun laws in the world, if there were guns on the other side of the room as those maniacs were shooting down people one by one because they had no protection whatsoever, if there were you, if there were some guns on the other side of those rooms as they were being shot down like sitting ducks, you get over here, boom, boom, boom. These are sick people, folks. If they had guns on the other side of that room, number one, if they knew that, they wouldn't probably have come there, okay? And even if they wanted to play it cool, they would have been gone pretty quickly with far less carnage. So we have to protect your Second Amendment. We have to protect it. So in a nutshell, we don't win anymore as a country. We have a very, very dishonest media. I do want you to remember that, because when you read, like you'll read this story tomorrow, and you'll hear this and that. You'll hear everything very different from what we all know was said. Like the baby. Like that beautiful baby. I love that baby. I love that baby. But you'll hear very different. The level of dishonesty is incredible. Not all, but just about getting pretty close, getting worse and worse. And I've heard this is going to happen. I've always heard if you're a very successful person, you can't run for the presidency because you've done so many things and so many deals and so many everything, and you've won a lot. You've won, and you know, people don't like you when you win. They don't like me. I mean, look at me. I won, and some of these people don't exactly like me, right? Which is fine. I mean, it's fine. Which is fine. But listen. I've always heard you can't, and I understand. But we need a certain mentality so that we can negotiate great deals. We have to negotiate. Our country's in such trouble. But we're going to win with our military. We're going to knock the hell out of ISIS, okay? Knock the hell out. We're going to take care of our vets. And our vets are being very, very badly treated. We're going to make great trade deals. We're going to bring jobs back to Iowa and every place else in this country. We're going to make great, great trade deals. And we're not going to lose our companies anymore to Mexico and all of these other places where they're building plants, the likes of which you've never seen, and like we're not doing in this country. We're going to build a great wall. And we're going to have borders. We're going to have borders, real borders. We're going to have borders. And I said it. People are going to come in, and they're going to come in legally. Now listen, so important to me. We're going to make America great again. We're going to make America safe again. We're going to be America first. We're not going to be negotiating with countries. You know, we actually make deals where we want to help companies and countries, and companies too, by the way, before we want to help America. We're going to make America great again, and you're going to be so proud. We're going to start winning again like you've never seen any country win. We're going to win at every single level. We're going to win with our trade deals. We're going to win on our border. We're going to win for our vets. We're going to win on health care, repeal and replace. And we're going to build up our depleted mirror. We have to, and it's so important, we have to build up our depleted, very badly depleted military. It's not like, by the way, it's not like we have a choice. We're going to do it. And you're going to be very proud of your country again, and hopefully you're going to be very, very proud of your president. Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you.